So, thank you for coming. I've been a nurse for nearly 3 decades, and there are things happening that I've never seen before. We've always been taught tried and true measures to treat patients, and all this has gone out the window since COVID. Speak up, please. And let me give you some examples. If a patient had an allergy, they would have charted in their chart they are not to receive that medication, and they may have a band put on their wrist saying not to give that medication. Today, what we do is, if you've had an anaphylactic reaction to the flu shot, it's okay, we'll put you in the emergency room before we give it to you. If you need an MRI and you are allergic to the dye, it's okay, we'll have an EpiPen available for them. And as far as the ventilators, these doctors are pushing ventilators on the COVID patients immediately. You never immediately put a patient on a ventilator. You give the option of a BiPAP or a CPAP and other medications, high flow oxygen. They are pushing these ventilators, and this is the last thing you want to do with a COVID patient. If a COVID patient gets on a ventilator, they would most likely not come off. That's the last thing you want to do. We used to be so careful with pregnant women. We are pushing an experimental jab on pregnant women where we used to say, don't eat that tuna because it's got too much mercury in it. Well, what is in this jab? We need to look that up. And I've looked up the safety data sheets on some of these ingredients in the jab. And the first one on the list, you can look it up yourself on a safety data sheet, says not to be used for therapeutic or diagnostic use on humans or animals. We're using something that we shouldn't be injecting in humans. So we hear, let's talk about the science, right? Let's talk about the science. Well, let's talk about the science. Oh, what I forgot to mention on pregnant women. So the actual study that was approved on the website, you can go for yourself and look at the CDC website. It says it has not been evaluated for the potential cause of carcinogenicity, I can't read my highlighted parts, genotoxicity, and impairment of male fertility. This right here is the study that we are basing this mandate on. I encourage everyone to go to the CDC website. You can find it at immunize.org. Scroll to the bottom and click package inserts and go to the COVID-19. There will be the EUAs on there, but you want to look at the Comirnaty, which is the approved one.
But it's not actually available.
And how can you approve a product that is not finished with clinical trials? Clinical trials are scheduled to go through 2023. You cannot. So many illegal things going on. Yeah, and I actually called the pharmacist to see what they're using, and they are still using the EUA. It does not say Comirnaty on their bottles. And he had no idea. He thought it was the approved one.
Not even available.
So I want to mention a couple things about this study. This is sloppy science. And don't let them tell you that you're stupid to not understand this. You can understand it. They unblinded the placebo group. This is unheard of. in science. Science is where you take a group to give saline or sugar water, and you give the other group the actual product. What they did is they offered the placebo group the real injection. I've never seen anything like this. They don't tell us how many accepted it. There's a lot of missing information in this study. To confirm a positive case, they used the PCR test, which we know it's not used to diagnose, but they used that. But they did not tell us how many cycles they ran the PCR at. You need to know how many cycles, because the more cycles you run it, the more of a potential of a false positive. The big kicker here was that they studied it for 7 days after the first shot and 7 days after the second shot. Do you think that's adequate to say this is safe and effective? No. When they did the toxicity test, they did not give the animals the full injection ingredients. All they gave them was the mRNA. Everything else was left out. This is sloppy, sloppy science.
Criminal.
Thank you.